You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Home Field Apparel.
What physical basketball
I was at the games.
versus
You were
physical
not.
fouling.
You watched them on YouTube.
Anyway.
I saw the games. I watched the games at the time.
Good afternoon. Welcome to a special live X's and Joe's to discuss the recent commitment of Trevor Manhertz to Indiana University. I'm Mike Wiemuth, joined by my pal Bob Moats. So, Bob, we have another recruit to talk about. Trevor Manhertz, ranked 53rd in the 24/7 composite, 34th by rivals on three. 6'8" left-hand wing out of Christ School in Cary, North Carolina, and AAU at Garner Road. First thoughts from you, Bob, about from Manhertz.
So Christ School at Cary, North Carolina, private school, I believe. They play a very interesting schedule, kind of a hybrid of inside North Carolina, but they also play some national programs as well here and there. Yeah. The alma mater of the Plumlee brothers, for those of you who are college basketball aficionados and remember the Plumlee family, who graced our presence at Duke University for many years. Yeah. Trevor Manhertz is a very interesting prospect in that he's 6'8", which means he's got a great length, but he's not what you would call a Tucker DeVries or a Trey Kaufman-Renn 6'8". His 6'8" is that lean, lanky perimeter big, and Tucker DeVries is a perimeter big too, but he's built more like a wide receiver than a fullback. And I think that that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see how IU uses him. Yeah. Obviously, you've seen he's a good shooter. If you look at any of his highlights, if you look at any game film, he's set up as a guy who shoot first, drive second. But he has a really good handle. And I can tell you in the film that I watched on him as a sophomore, there were times where they would bring him in to basically bring the ball up the floor, break a press. Oftentimes he'd be at the middle of the offense in a zone offense, looking to make reads and make the right pass, make the right play. Yeah. And as you kind of watch him as he's evolved over the last couple of seasons, he's gotten a lot better at moving, basically at attacking closeouts and driving the lane, finishing at three levels. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say he's above the rim yet. Like most players, he can dunk it. Where he struggles, he's not the sort of high flying. Think of the think of a 6'8" player that even
it's not the Thompson twins or anything like that. Yeah,
not even close. Yeah. But he does. I mean, he does have the ability. He has good touch. He's a finesse 6'8". Could you call him a guard? No, but you could definitely call him a small forward at 6'8". And I think something that Jordan Sperber just put out on his Hoop Vision, talking about college basketball teams getting taller and with more positionless basketball. And I think that he's a great example of kind of the Euro influence in positionless basketball. What you see with him is you see a kid that he can definitely has the lateral quickness. He has the shooting ability, the driving ability, the passing ability, the playmaking ability to be more like a 6'4", 6'5", traditional small forward that we're used to seeing, right, versus 6'8", where you put him on a block. This kid, I don't think, is ever taught to sit on a block, turn, and shoot. I think he was always put on the perimeter to make plays, and I think he got almost like a Gordon Hayward. He learned how he basically took guard skills into a bigger body.
Yeah, well, he grew 5 inches in 1 year, so he's a very he's sort of the prototypical kid that grew up with guard skills and just completely, blew up over like a 12-month period. And suddenly, oh my God, now I have to figure out how to become a wing, but still retaining my guard skills. So that's very true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, his length is obviously the thing that kind of stands out. It's not just that he's 6'8", but he's 6'8", but he has a +5 inch wingspan. And I mean, length does matter on shooters. I mean, I know that, that's not something I think fans pay a lot of attention to, but I know coaches definitely do. You saw that definitely on display in the IU Purdue game with Nick Dorn continuing to get, really good line of sight shots against Omer Mayer's closeout versus, some other guy might be 6'7", 6'8", it would be much harder to shoot over top of. So I think Coach DeVries clearly, aside from just the fact that he's going after shooters, he's going after guys that can actually get them off, with a degree of consistency. And yeah, in terms of his athleticism, and I know Ryan, put this up there, he is a below average or average D1 athlete. I'd say just in terms of his bio, I would say he's about average to above average. One thing that you've seen in some of this his video file is that, like you said, Bob, he can attack the rim. He doesn't have the kind of muscle to be able to do that, I would say, consistently against, let's say, the Big Ten, just doing a hard drive against both getting by his man and then going up, let's say, against the typical Big Ten center. But he can attack an empty closeout and be able to, either pull up, from mid-range or, get to the hole with some degree of effectiveness. And yeah, I would say that I was thinking just yesterday, just watching some of his films, that I was trying to go through my own head. It's like, okay, who does he remind me of? Because obviously people always love to think, okay, well, what is this guy matched to in terms of like ex-NBA players? Give me a visual to think about in terms of, what he might be like. I would say that the one guy I can think of, let's say more recently, that he's a little bit like is maybe a skinnier version of Chris Murray from Iowa. Murray's probably coming into high school or coming to college was probably about 20 pounds heavier than Manhertz, but about the same, very skilled left-handed shooter, about 6'7", 6'8". So for those of you that watch Big Ten basketball the last 10 years, that's, probably at least a comparison that's in the right zip code. One that really reminded me of, just in terms of watching, his high school film versus what I remember back 30 years ago. The guy he reminds me of a lot is Tayshaun Prince.
Okay.
From Kentucky. Remember when he was coming out of Dominguez High School in Los Angeles? Right. He's a top 35, top wing shooter, 6'8". He and Manhertz are about 6'8", 185. So tall, skinny, upper tier shooters. Both needed strength and conditioning in college to get better, but also, both pretty highly rated dudes at the same time. So I think Manhertz is probably, I don't remember Prince having that great of a vertical leap compared to, say, what even Manhertz has. I remember that Tayshaun Prince had like a +6, +7 wingspan, which is crazy in terms of of a guy that size. So yeah, those are the first two comps I would think that would pop out there, at least, in the right neighborhood for people to think of.
So we're not talking Justin Smith here.
No, yeah, believe me, if Justin Smith had Manhertz's ability to shoot threes, then yeah, he'd be in whatever year of his NBA contract right now.
And that's, I think, and I guess that goes back to me, talking about a guy who's 6'8", that, 6'8" is a height. It's not a position defining trait.
Right.
And I think with him, like, one thing I was watching again, you kind of watch how a kid is moving without the ball. He is extremely, like watching him in transition is fun because he can hit the pitch aheads real quick. He can look up the floor, hit the guy, and hit the corner shooter as he's moving up the court. Can definitely make the right pass. Like, one of the problems I was seeing with him with his passes, I'm like, wait a minute, that's a great pass. But his teammate just can't catch up to it yet. A Division I guy running the floor is going to be able to, a guy playing at Indiana is going to be able to make that catch. It's like watching a high school quarterback make the perfect throw and it goes through the receiver's hands. That's what you're looking at with some of his stuff. So that's one. And I think another thing to kind of, like, he's really good at, shooting off screens. He's really good at making a good read off a screen so he can curl it. And a lot of the actions Darren DeVries is running right now, you could see him being the cutter. You could see him being the flare guy, the screen guy, whatever it kind of works. And to Ryan's question, yes, he does have a quick setup and a quick release. Very high. He will be able to shoot over most players, and he creates a defensive matchup dilemma, as Mike was talking about, because when you have that sort of height and you also have his handle, if you put the 6'8" guy on him, then who guards Trent Sisley? Who guards Curvala? That's the question you have to look at if you're a Big Ten coach. Mm-hmm. So do you put the smaller guy on him? Do you put the bigger guy on him and then trust the smaller guy on Sisley? How do you kind of work that process? Because you can see Carvel and Manhertz playing together. You can see Sisley and Manhertz playing together, just like you can see Sisley and Carvella playing together. So you can see how they can utilize different combinations with those types of strengths and using them in two-man off-ball actions. Or Manhertz is even capable with his handle, I think, right now, Mike, where you could run like a Prince Alexander Moody off ghost action and just set him up on an inverted ghost action and then bring the big up to just take Manhertz and try to force a switch. Yeah. So there are so many things that they can do with him, with his current skill set offensively. Yeah. I think defensively, he's definitely a disruptor on the perimeter. Like you watch going back to Nick Dorn reference, you saw what Nick Dorn did against Purdue and Fletcher Lawyer. Yeah. Against smaller wing teams, you put him with Sisley. Sisley takes the bruiser, their version of Trey Kaufman-Renn or their version of German kid from Wisconsin, whatever. They do that, and then you put him out on a 6'5" shooting guard, basically that plays small forward. Yeah, and totally. he can definitely play that defensive role effectively. I think if you're looking for weaknesses, one of them I haven't really seen him rebound well yet. I don't think he likes, I saw a couple scenes there was one, I clipped one from a Sidwell Friends game where he got mad and he just ripped the dang thing down and I saw aggression, but I haven't really seen him just be like very much nose to the rim to rebound. Part of it might be his team composition because he has a Division I kid that plays with him that's going to Illinois State who's a big, and another kid who's a big. So I think they try to get him out more in transition. Yeah, but that was just something I noticed. I mean, if people are looking, everyone wants to look at the second part of it, and that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think you think about the layers of where kids typically get rebounds anymore, and I think you're watching, let's say again, like the game on let's say against Purdue. Obviously, when you have like long, taller wings, guys like Dorn or Josiah Miles, they're not typically going to get the rebounds that are, let's say, within the 3 to 5 foot circle around the basket. They're getting the 7 to 8 foot circle rebounds that are basically kicking off hard off of a 3-point attempt. You saw, Miles, pick up some of that. I think Dorn got at least one of those. So that's kind of the rebounds he has to be able to make. He doesn't necessarily have to go against centers, but you're right. I think the one drawback for him right now is just, again, physicality. He is a pretty skinny kid, and he's like literally 6'8", 185. So I think you really want to get him much closer to 200, and most of the rest of that 15 being muscle. not just cheeseburgers. And go ahead.
I would say this real quick. If he does get switched onto a big, I don't see him being a 3/4 defender. I see him being a front. I would see you putting him in a front position for that very reason. Like you would use him to front a big versus playing straight behind him, because I feel like you could, based on what you're saying, he's easy to displace.
Yeah, and his wingspan obviously would also give you a good angle for fronting. I mean, that's what you want to do, is like, force the other team to basically make that risky pass, knowing that the guy does have a +5 wingspan and actually has a decent vertical. So yeah, and another thing like that's interesting I noticed about him is, and this is becoming a little bit of a theme with some of Darren DeVries's recruits, is that he's kind of come out of nowhere in terms of his, I guess, national brand. Every year, there's usually about 2 or 3 kids that are, let's say, sub 300 recruits that, usually in their junior year or their junior year going into their senior year, basically the summer circuit, they blow up and they go from 300, 400 into the top 50, and Manhertz is one of them. And a lot of the stuff that was going on in the summer with him and even continuing on into the winter has kind of reinforced the idea. It's like, okay, yeah, this kid is definitely deserving of a lot of D1 attention, but like high Power 5 D1 attention. I think his first offer in college was just last April, and it was from Boston University. So it shows kind of where he's come from just in the last 8-9 months in terms of his national profile. He went, just to get some stats, he went 9 for 13 from deep in the Earn Your Stripes Invitational several months ago. He also went in Dayton at the Flying to Hoop event. He scored 30 points off 11-17 shooting, 8 of 12 from 3 versus Iowa United. Now, Iowa United is not like a really small team. You might remember Arifan Diane, the center that IU recruited heavily, that went to Houston, who's basically the number one center in the class. He's part of that Iowa team. Also, he probably one of the more impressive games he had recently, I think it was just before Christmas. His team went against Spire Academy, which includes 3 of the best wings in all of the country. It has Terrace Bowie, Alex Costanza, and Aiden Derkak, who's going to Providence. And he put up, like, let's see, it was 7 for 14 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3. So yeah, I mean, he basically had, like an upper sort of upper level performance against all these other kids who were already top 50 recruits. So typically, if you want to know anything about how rankers kind of think, they'll see these kids that are sort of like way below the waterline in terms of their ranking. And if they have like some consistency of performance of outperforming those top 50 kids, well, at some point they're going to start ranking those kids, right up there with all the rest of the top 50. And that's kind of how, Manhertz actually ended up where he did.
Yeah, and I think that's when you can see them actually playing against potential D1 players and they're still producing and they're doing it at a high level. It explains that. I know that Louisville, he was basically, this turned into an IU versus UL fight.
Yeah, Duke. Well, he's from Cary, North Carolina. Duke took a
Cary,
look at. Yeah.
For those of you who are geographically not inclined, and like my good friend and I are, and I, when you go to Cary, North Carolina, you're basically in Duke UNC backyard. I mean, it's literally, it's Wilson the neighbor to Tim Allen, close.
Yeah.
And this would be an example of, don't know why Hubert said no or didn't notice it. We have theories on that. We'll explore later in a longer episode of our show, but we have before. Yeah. But I think Shire took a look at him. I don't think Manhertz was ready to make a decision because he was ready to reclassify.
Yeah,
Shire was like, I could take him maybe next year, but not 2 years from now, but not next year. I'm not sure how that all played out.
Well, and also that Duke took Bryson Howard, which is already another top 20 wing in the 2026 class. So that might also be a part of it, is that, that may have been part of the conversation. Like, hey, we might bring you in, kid, but there's going to be several kids in front of you. So
Shire was conditional offer, but it was toe to toe. Pat Kelsey, Darren DeVries, he picked DeVries,
right?
And that's significant. There has been talk of him redshirting.
Yeah, I did at least see 1 or 2 mentions of that, but
we'll go ahead and just cite our good friend. So this is why, again, if you've not subscribed to Back Home Network, good time to do so. Yeah. And just hit subscribe or check us out on the Substack and get into our Discord, where Mike and I spend a lot of time answering questions or just interacting with people and trying not to insult them.
Oftentimes not even about basketball.
A lot of times not even about basketball, but this one was about basketball. Our good friend Steven Ragsdale runs IU Recruiting Radar. Was the website was basically saying, he basically said that he had heard that had heard about the
at least the possibility of
idea
of
a red shirt, and it would make sense, a possibility. So it's in play. you have to look at this. The kid's reclassifying. He may be done with high school and maybe done with high school. Doesn't want to necessarily play another high school season. Get him on campus a year early. It's very similar to how IU handled Race Thompson, if I recall correctly,
Right.
where he basically redshirted his freshman year, got his body right, got the skills up, learned what he needed to learn, and was able to kind of get into a role. And if they should happen to need him, he's on the roster, and they can always. It's not like you have to file 16 forms of paperwork and sell your firstborn to get out of a red shirt deal. You just have to walk on the basketball court, and you're off your red shirt. So that would be, I think, the deal with him. You're looking at a kid that we may not see him until the 27-28 season.
Yeah.
Playing a game, but you never know.
Yeah. That's still be determined. I mean, obviously the kid just committed, and so I'm sure there be other rumors out there, but
wanted to address the thing that we saw, though. I wanted to make sure we've addressed it.
So I guess here's the question most people will ask is like, okay, like taking into account that you have him, you have Vaughn Carvalho and Pris Alexander Moody, and Chase Branham going into the following class. How do you think all these guys right now would fit together? What sort of like knowing the fact that there's probably be portal guys going to be coming over top of them for just like 1 year stints. And so these kids are going to be coming through this program, developing over time, even as other guys are being plugged in sort of on top of them. But like, what are your thoughts right now about how at least this core 4 high school commits, are going to be looking together?
I think if you look at the world from a dynamic of an 8-man rotation, you have 3 wings you have basically 3, what we would call a 3 and a 4 with Carvalho, Sicily, and now Manhertz.
Right.
You also have Prince Alexander, Moody, and Branham as kind of guards, for lack of a better term, those 1s, 2s. So, and anything 2 through 4, you can kind of have some interchanges in. I'm not sure you could put Carvalho at a 2 per se as a backup lead. I don't see it. Manhertz probably not either. They have handles, maybe not to that level. Moody, I think, could be a secondary lead. Branham can definitely play is a traditional combo guard.
Yeah.
So I think you could look at 4 of them right now, in combinations and putting them on the floor together. Put 4 of those 5 on, and you have a nucleus of a really good group. You add to them what they really need, though, and we've talked about it before. We're going to be interested to see what happens in the portal, or see if there's some sort of court decision that kind of help them on this. By the way, Duke the dog is very interested in the Manhertz recruitment. I'm sure you can hear him back there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a happy belated birthday to Duke as well.
Yes, thank you. We just turned the big 4 or 28 in dog years. So, he's looking to settle down and get a nice family. He can't do that, but he doesn't know that. Yeah. So anyway, moving right along. But no, I think you got to get that sort of lead driver. You kind of need that you need that slash first shoot later guy. Which I don't think that they've brought in just yet.
Yeah.
Again, there's rumors on Conaway maybe getting a 5th season, so that's possible. But you're still going to need somebody jumping in, and probably 2 guys that can do that.
Yeah. That
can be capable of doing it. Moody's not bad. I mean, again, we're not. I think he could definitely drive the basketball.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the good thing is that they're all shooters, obviously. Like, Branham's a great shooter. Moody's becoming a much better shooter. He's kind of underrated on that. Carvalho, obviously, is like a streaky shooter. Manhertz is known for being a shooter. So they've obviously got that box checked quite well. But you're right. It's the other stuff that we need to
But
see.
I think they're also coming in with a better canvas to work from as a driver. That you're looking at higher skilled guys. And that's not a knock on this team currently. But you're looking at definitive as I'm talking to a smart guy here who came with the term sweet spot. These are all 4 sweet spot dudes that are projecting to be multi-year players in college basketball who will develop, who will learn better how to play off 2 feet, play off a stronger base, get their body right to be in a Division I power conference body, all coming in with elite-esque or very good perimeter skills.
Yeah.
And if you add that sort of Walter Clayton Jr., Tristan Newton type of lead guard, which they're out there. And, you know, putting them into that position where they can really just kind of bring it together in that, you know, junior, senior type leadership. Yeah. Or looking even at the next, and I'm going to say this one too, this is the next thing. You're going to need to get an above the rim big. Yeah. We don't need a defensive tackle. We don't need Omer Ballo. We don't even really, even Trace Jackson Davis, maybe a little, you'd like to have that, but that doesn't come very often. Yeah. You basically need a guy that can play 5 out and can be a north-south guy that can get up above the rim, which then really forces tags, which if you can get 2 on the ball and a guy tagging, who are you going to tag off of in this group, Mike? That's the question. Like if you're trying to run a tag scheme on a middle dry, on a middle pick and roll, who tags? Are we going to tag off Prince Alexander Moody? Are we going to tag off Carvella? Are we going to tag off Manhertz? Are we even going to tag off Sisley? Because even if you tag off Sisley, then he cuts you. Boom, it's there. He gets a dunk. He gets, he can get above the rim.
Yeah.
So you're looking at an offense that I think it's they're 25th in the country right now in efficiency and KenPom.
Thereabouts,
They're in that 10. They're already at the lower end of the top 10% of offensive efficiency in KenPom.
Yeah.
You want to get to the top 10 in KenPom, you get those extra things. You may find them getting there because already this program is making steps in the right direction schematically to make that happen.
Yeah, and also if you're thinking about, just rounding out the roster, once a coach is able to get, let's say, multiple guys that can fill a particular skill, let's say like with shooting, it becomes very attractive for point guards to join that. Is because okay, I already have all the guys that are going to spread the floor for me. It's like I want to operate in basically open space, no one crowding the lane for me to be able to get and operate, effectively in modern offense. This is the perfect kind of place to do that at Indiana as a point guard, if you have all these shooters already on the roster. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, obviously, as time goes by, and we'll see what's going to go on with Connor Way with the potential for an extra year, or what other recruits are going to be getting in the next cycle or two. They're going to join these guys, but I think just given what's already been committed in the coming classes. Yeah, I think if I were a very quick, fast point guard that wanted to operate a high-powered sort of modern offense, IU definitely would become a very attractive place to go to right now.
I would agree, and I would just kind of throw in this kind of last part that you still have Alexis Ristich sitting on the bench that we're not really sure what he's going to develop into.
Yeah.
If you're looking at running Euro-based systems, which I believe Darren DeVries, and it's kind of like saying, I'm going to go eat at a buffet. Yeah. There's so many options on the buffet to begin with. And are we going to a barbecue buffet like Moonlight down in Newlandsboro, Kentucky? Are we going to the local Chinese buffet? Are we going to the Ponderosa? Are we doing the Pondo? So wherever we're going, it's like going to a buffet. But the point is, you're looking at a more almost just, it's not a hierarchical, but it's more of a systemic system, more of a systemic way of playing. You're looking at a more opportunistic way of playing versus here's my alpha, here's my betas. This guy gets this many shots. This guy gets that many shots. I'm going to promise you this many looks. It's not that really sort of ISO based basketball that many programs still run in this country to this day.
Right.
It's going to be more of a free flowing, fun to watch, lots of cutting, lots of space, lots of driving, getting in, and just being able to collapse defenses, move the help, and kick it out to shooters for wide open shots. And I do know that there's frustration sometimes that you see on the Facebooks and you see everywhere else. Well, I wish they'd just not shoot the three so much. Ideally, maybe 50% on the ratio is a little high. Maybe it's more like 40%.
Yeah.
But the threat of the 3-point shot is kind of like, if you want to get walks in baseball, you get power hitters.
Yeah.
And this is what this is. The 3-point shot and the slam dunk are power hitters.
Yeah.
So now you're getting power hitters to come in and guys that are more apt to kill you in multiple ways versus kind of the first run of what we've seen under Darren DeVries. Step quicker, step longer, better handles, more fluid, earlier.
Yeah, and exactly. I think many people confuse the use of the 3-pointer in a sort of DeVries style offense, thinking that that's always going to be the preference. I think if you just ask Darren DeVries honestly, he'd probably say, "I wish we had a lot more quote unquote layups." Yeah,
yeah,
a lot more scoring. Like, if you look at the shot charts that are sort of the ideal shot charts for these kind of offenses, you'll see a ton of layups and a ton of 3-pointers and nothing in between. And so, and that's kind of, I think the hope is that, okay, if you do get the right kind of shooters and then add the right kind of drivers in there, then the ratio starts to balance out a little bit more because, again, the threat of the 3-point shooting starts to open up more lanes for penetration or cutting. And so I think, once you start to get a much more balanced roster, you're probably going to see that, I think, sort of emerge as time goes by.
And I would also just add this last part, which is having the ability to have multiple guys who late in shot clock situations can get their own shot. And I think we're getting to that. The next group, you have more of that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's exciting. It's damned exciting.
Yeah, no, it's like not that we've been in a lack of exciting news to share about IU athletics the last 9 days. So
this is Christmas. It's almost like, it's like the time when all the grandparents and like you go to, let's say your both just grandparents got divorced. You got new grandpas and grandmas, and you get 5 Christmases. This is what it feels like,
Yeah.
It may have sucked getting there, but now that we're here, I'm getting a lot of bikes and I'm getting a lot of G.I. Joe Sky Strikers, and I might even get the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, this is the payoff. I mean,
this is the payoff. This is the payoff for all the pain we've gone through. This is the payoff.
Yes, exactly. So, coming attractions, Bob. I know we're going to be doing at least one pod probably next week. I think our last one to discuss IU football, and then I think that will be that we'll finally get back full time to basketball, right?
And then we're going to do the Holy Grail, the coaches show, which we've been searching for that one for like the last month and a half.
Yes,
which I love.
Blame Kurt Stignetti and the IU football team for pushing off our basketball content this long.
Damn national championship.
Exactly.
Love it. So on that note, Mike, we'll talk to you soon. And for those, I'm Bob Moats.
Mike Wiemuth. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.